Hi there. So in this video, I just want to walk through VLOOKUP functions. That's something in my experience of sharing knowledge, folks have had difficulty understanding or grappling with processing it. So here, I just want to use what I call a simple example to try to explain it in as simple terms as I can. So the VLOOKUP comes under the category of reference functions in Excel. And by reference, as you can imagine with the word said, reference, is to make reference to something else based on a common item. And the spreadsheet we have here, what I have is from this sheet, a result sheet, and we have some other sheets that are named subjects. So I'm trying to mimic the view of a classroom teacher, okay, or a principal, basically an academic administrator, where you have a class and you have students in the class, so you have their data. Now, these students have various subjects or courses which they are offering or learning from. Okay. And in no particular order, these are just random subjects: maths, English, biology, economics, civic, for civic studies or civic education, as the case may be. Now, part of a practical scenario is that these subjects will likely be handled by different teachers or different instructors or tutors, as the case may be. However, the different tutors would all have their result sheets because the maths teacher is not going to compute grades for the English teacher, likewise the biology teacher, and as many subjects as the case may be. The maths teacher is going to compute grades based on his assessment of the students on mathematics. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward. So typically the maths teacher would have his own grade book. I'm just going to click on this maths grade book here of the students. All right, he would have his grade book, which would look something like this for the list of students in the class. And so CA is just an acronym here for continuous assessment. Okay, so here I'm assuming there are three continuous assessments. Okay, so CA1, CA2, CA3, and you have exam and the total score, as the case may be. Now, this would be the maths teacher's grade book. The English teacher has his, the biology teacher has hers, and it just keeps going on and on. At the end of the term, when it's time to compute results, all these teachers would have to submit their grade books, okay, or their result sheet to the administrator. Could be the class administrator or the class teacher, someone from the academic office, to compute the result of the students. Okay, to compute the result of the students. And this is what it likely would look like. Okay, it may not be exactly this, but this is what it will likely look like. So the class teacher or the academic administrator in this case would have a list of all students in the class and columns to indicate the subjects of each student. Now, without the computer, what the class teacher would have to do is to look for each name, so if it was in a book, he would go through the first name. Here is Liam Carter, right? Liam Carter here. So he goes to maths and checks for maths. What's the score of Liam Carter? And he comes in and then going to impute that score here. Could also, Liam Carter here, come to maths, look for Liam Carter, right? Or this Liam Carter, he goes through it and sees the total. The total for Liam Carter in maths is 53. So he's going to come in here, type 53. He's going to do same thing for the next person, Emma Brooks. Come to for maths, look for Emma Brooks. Here I'm saying 79, comes in, type 79. When he's done with all of his formats, he would go to English, or if he wants to just move, horizontally, so English, you come to English sheet and do the same thing. Now, thanks to functions such as the VLOOKUP, we don't have to express, like going with this painstaking approach of one by one. And if you just go through this, it has 90 students. Okay, 90 students. So this is going to be doing for 90 students. For 90 students, and then how many subjects being offered here? I'll say maths, English, biology, economics, civics, civic studies. Okay, that's 5 subjects. You can say 90 times 5, because that will be the number of times he has to do this. Okay, that could be tiring, to take a longer time to get things done. Thanks to functions, reference functions such as the VLOOKUP and other functions, but the VLOOKUP is what we're trying to explore here. We can do this faster. So to do this, the rule of thumb, equal to symbol, I will say V lookup. Now you just take a look at the description. It says looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table and then returns a value in the same row from a column you specify. We're going to come back to explain this detail, as we write. So I'm going to just hit the tab to write. So now writing this here, you can see it opens up to say the parameters that the VLOOKUP is expecting. Okay, lookup value, which is the first one, table array, column index number, right? And then the last bit, which is the range lookup. The lookup value here represents what you're looking for. So in this case here, we're looking for Liam Carter, okay? And that's what we're looking for here, Liam Carter. So that particular thing that you want, that you're going to use to go to another space, right? That point of reference, say, oh, Liam Carter is what I'm looking for. You're searching for Liam Carter, and then you have to go to maths grade book or English grade book. That is the lookup value. So it typically refers to a single value, right? A single value. At its simplest form is a single value, and most times like this, it's just stored up in a cell. So you can just type that cell reference, or you click on it like I have here, and then we hit the comma or the separator of your machine. Okay, it's most commonly a comma. There are very few cases where you have semicolons as a separator. So we hit the comma, and then the next thing that is highlighted here is the table array. Now the table array refers to that grade book. So we are looking for Liam Carter, right, which is in C4, the lookup value. But where are we going to look for it? We're going to look for it in the grade book. So if Liam Carter, this was the result, this is the result sheet where we have Liam Carter. We're going to look for Liam Carter now, and then we flip to say, oh, where's the maths grade book? The maths grade book, which is this sheet here, maths, that is the lookup array. The table array rather, that's what represents the table array. Okay, we know an array is just a list of things, just speaking operationally. So I click on this here. Now pay attention to the formula bar. The formula bar is not taking off. Yes, I've clicked on math. If I click on English, it takes me to the English sheet, but you see something about the formula bar, it's making reference to the sheet name, but this is not enough. I need to actually specify the range. Okay, and now I'm going to come here. So a range, we know that typically a range, we can say cell A2 to cell A5, A2 to H6. So I'm just going to say the table array, since it's a range I want here, I'm saying D3, but I want it till the end, because D3, now I want it to cover from D3 where I have the names. So of course there must be a common bit there. I know that, oh, these where the names are stored in column D, but it's not the values in column D that I'm after. I'm after the value in where now, in the total column, which is indicated by column I. So that's why I'm going to I can hold my left click. All right, I could hold my left click, or if I'm sure of the range, okay, I could hold my left click and select up to column I here. And because I want to go through the entire range, because it's not always going to be serially organized like this, and I just drag it all the way down, or I could use the keyboard shortcut, okay, to just pull it all the way down. The key thing is my range, okay, the table array. So you see the table array here now. Now this is the table array. The maths with the exclamation symbol there represents that is a sheet. a sheet name, and then next to it we now have D3 to I92. Now in this table array, before I go off this table array, it now sees it as a complete table. That's what the VLOOKUP function is saying it as a complete table. And if you look at it as a complete table starting from D3 to I92. And that's how many columns? So let's just count together. From D, it is 1, in terms of position, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, why we're counting this is because that's what influences the next argument or the next value that you impute here, which is for the column index number. The column index number is where you're referencing, you're now trying to say from this table array, what value do I want returned? It's in a column, but what's the position of this column in the table array? So in this case here, where we said from our table array is from D3 to I92. Okay, so from D to I, so the position, so D now is position 1, not A. D is position 1, E 2, F is 3, G is what? 4. I hope I'm getting that right. So yes, 1, this is for D, E 2, F 3, G here 4, H is 5, I where it ends, okay, I where it ends is 6, and we're interested in returning the values in column I. So that's why our column index number here is occupying the position of 6, because that's where the value in the 6th position is what we're interested in returning, 6. Now the next bit is the range lookup. So here you're specifying what type of match. Here we just want the exact match, all right, of Liam Carter. So that's why we're going to say false, exact match. So we can double click or you can type false, and we close this. You could also use just some persons would just type 0, okay, because in computing terms 1 is true, 0 is false. So the Excel also takes that interpretation, and I hit enter here, okay, I hit enter here, and I can see that that value is returned. I'm going to take this off here. So now this is for maths. I will do the same thing for English, okay. So for English, I would say VLOOKUP here. I'm going to my lookup value now, this, right? I hit the comma, my table array, it's in the English sheet. So I'm coming here where the names are, and I'm just going to copy it all the way down to I92, comma. I know that now this is still, because it's the same D to I, and I'm interested in I. So just as we went over it, it represents is the 6th value there, and I can say 0, and I close this, and the values are returned. Now there's something to still add about VLOOKUP here, something very important to note. If I drag down, so let's just drag this formula down here. Let's observe something in the formula bar. Please try to, if you can, pinch your screen, so it just zooms in a bit to look at the formula bar here. So the formula bar in the first cell where we actually imputed the formula directly, say C4, and then we have our table array, which is D3 to I92. The position we want is 6, and we have false. When I come down here, what we're looking for now is C5, and that's correct, okay, because the value is in C5. That is Emma Brooks here rather. However, the table reference, see the difference, is now D4 to I93. The original reference was D3 to I92, but here it now comes down to D4 to I93. Now, it may seem okay here, it may seem okay here, but if you're dealing, you're dealing with a larger frame, in terms of your reference table, you would have experienced that, oh, sometimes it changes in terms of like the values that are returned. It starts throwing a reference error to you because it couldn't find it. Either it's telling you the reference is out of range, like the ref error, or you just can't find it. You're seeing that NA really annoying error. Now, to correct this, you don't want this looking through D4 to I93. Okay, now D4 is coming out. You want it to start looking from D3 as you specified, always to look from D3 to I92. Now, this brings us to the concept of referencing in Excel. Okay, so in this case here, Excel by default uses relative reference, so it's just incrementing as we're dragging down. Okay, so as we're dragging down, it's incrementing the reference. But there are situations where you do not want your reference to expand; you want it to be static. The proper term is you want absolute reference to it. What you should do is to enclose this table array, right? Enclose this range in dollar symbols. Okay, so the quickest and shortcut to get to this while you familiarize yourself with it is to just use the F4 on your keyboard. Okay, F4 on your keyboard, and it's just enclosed in dollar, so you can see it's in dollar. And now when I double click, to autofill this, you see that the range is not changing in terms of table array. It's not changing anymore. It's now static. Yes, the lookup value is changing just as we would want it to, but the range in itself is not changing. Okay, so you've seen this, and the file is available. You can download, try it out, and fill it up, fill the rest of it yourself. And where you're still not clear, you run into any issues, don't hesitate to drop your questions or your comments, and I'll do my best to respond as quickly as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.